Glad to have you all here. And since we've had the Snow Sundays, we're just kind of picking up in the series that we're in, which is called The Perfect Mix. And where we've been at this point is we're looking at the ingredients that God has in the scriptures. That He says, if you add these things to your church, if you put these ingredients in and mix them right, that your church will thrive, that you will have a God-honoring church that thrives and meets the needs of the people and accomplishes kingdom work in whatever church you're in. So that's what we're covering. We've covered three things so far. The ones we've hit on were truth, worship, and leadership. Okay, we've hit on those ingredients. Today, we're going to hit on the fourth ingredient, that is stewardship. And when you hear the word stewardship, you start going, what is stewardship in regards to a Christian? What does that really mean? Let me kind of give you the scholarly definition of it. It would be this. Stewardship to a Christian is it's a job of protecting and being responsible for God's possessions that He has entrusted to you. Okay? To a Christian, what stewardship means is you realize the things you have are a blessing from God. And you are here to protect it, and you are here to use it and manage it the best way you can for the kingdom of God. And some of you will sit there right now and you'll go, wait a second. I work a job. I'm the one that earned that. That's my money. I'm the one that worked and got that. And I go, did you pick where you were born? Did you get to pick that you were born in the United States over being born somewhere in Africa and being dirt poor? Did you get to pick that? No, you didn't get to pick that. Did you get to pick your parents you were born to and they gave you the life they did or didn't give? Did you get to pick? No. So where a Christian would go is everything I have is a blessing from God. No matter if I live in Africa or I live from here, it's a blessing from God, what I do have, and I need to use it responsibly. Now, here's the toughest thing I have found in my life about Christian stewardship. It is this. It is continually understanding that what you have needs to always be available for kingdom work when God calls. Some people think stewardship is this. God demands you give away all of your wealth. No, He doesn't. He demands with certain people in the scriptures at times who come to Him that have a problem with their wealth. He does say, give it all up and follow me to find out where their hearts are. But His demand to all of you is not be dirt poor and give all of your money away. All right. But here's what I do see in the scriptures is His demand is this. You need to put yourself in a situation financially that whenever God calls, you are able to answer. Now, you might look at that and go, well, what if God calls and I don't have the money? Well, not every need you see is yours to meet. All right? You're going to see guys getting off the highway every day panhandling for money. That doesn't mean that's always your person that you have to meet their need. God will convince you at times when you need to meet a need. And what I'm saying with Christian stewardship is this. You structure your life in such a way when God calls, you can meet the need. You have yourself in a situation financially that you can meet it. Some of you, it's going to be small. Some of you, that's going to be large. But you have yourself structured in a place that you can meet the need when God calls. Now, Luke says this, and this is what writes this about Jesus. Here's Jesus' words. He says, no one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Okay? Wow. That was impressive this morning. I know. I can see her. I saw the whole head and everything. So that was impressive. Normally, I wouldn't point that out, but that was good, Reagan. I like that. Okay. We will remember that for weeks now. That probably was on the audio even. The mic's all the way up here. So carrying on, here's the thing. Jesus says this. He basically says you can't serve two masters. You'll love one, hate the other. You'll like this one, despise this one. You can't serve both God and money. And the reason he says this is this. You will make a choice in your life what you do with your money and who the top priority is. And as a Christian, it's going to be you or it's going to be God. And you will structure your finances based on who is priority number one. There's no way to structure your finances to make both of you a priority, you and God. You will make a choice. And if you make a choice to go, all my money is to be used somehow that when I feel I need to get something, I will make it happen. When God intervenes in that scenario and says, I'm calling you to help here, you will go, no, don't bother me right now because I want my new flat screen. Or I want my car that I'm supposed to get. Or I want this new technology thing. Or I want this new thing done at my house. Or I want my house painted. Or I want this room done this way. You will come up with reasons to go, God, stop bugging me because I'm priority number one and I want my money for myself. Or as a Christian, you will structure your life in a different way where you go, All my money is to be there, and if God calls, I'm willing to use it. And if that means I have to give up the flat screen, the thing at the house that I want repainted and redone, or the car, or whatever that is, if I have to give that up because at that particular time, God has called me to help here, you have structured your life where you go, absolutely. And I have no problem with that, God. And you can't have it both ways. And that's what Jesus wanted to make very clear to you, is you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, I'm priority number one, but so is God. If you're saying that, you're deceiving yourself. That's not true. It goes on in Hebrews, it says this. It says, don't love money. Be satisfied with what you have. Let me stop for a second. Take that for a quote. Don't love money. Americans, be satisfied with what you have. Be satisfied with what you have. Is that hard? Absolutely. Our entire market, our entire media is based on getting you to get rid of your old stuff and get new stuff. That's how they make money, all right? So to say, don't love money, be satisfied with what you have, that's a major statement. And then he says, for God has said, I will never fail you. I will never abandon you. So have your money structured that when God calls, you can use it because God says, I'll always take care of you. I'm not going to call you to do something that you can't feed your children then. I'm always there for you. I will never leave you or never fail you. I will never abandon you. Don't love the money. Just be satisfied with what you had. God cares for you. Okay? That's what he's talking about. So let's talk about the most important factor of being actually an effective steward of God's possessions in your life. And that is this. It's living within a budget. Living within a budget. Proverbs 21:5, it says this. It says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to what? Poverty. We found this out 2 weeks ago. It came out 50% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, meaning the paycheck you get, you have it already spent and has to go out and you have nothing left over or you're behind. Paycheck to paycheck and have no clue what they're doing financially with their money. Now, 50% of our nation lives that way. That is not good. You can't be living on a budget if you're going paycheck to paycheck. So what I want to do is this. I want to explain to you how a simple budget works. And I'm a very simple man, so I'm going to explain this to you very simply. Because as much as you might go, people live on a budget, I know most of you don't. All right, let's just be honest. Most of you know you should. I'm not going to ask you how many of you do and how many of you don't. But here's my encouragement. If you're not living on a budget right now, you are wasting money all over the place. And you could do so much more with your money, both for yourself and for God's kingdom, if you would just structure and know what you're doing with it. So let me give you a very simple, some of you are going to go, yeah, this is easy, I got that. But a lot of you need to hear this. Here's how a simple budget works. You need to do this. You need to list your monthly expenses that you have in a month. That is your gas, your electric, your house payment or apartment payment, car payments, car insurance, all those things that you have as a cost in a month. One of the things I would tell you if you were a follower of Jesus Christ, you better have kingdom work in there somewhere. All right? That is part of your monthly expenses is how much I'm giving to kingdom work to my church, to kingdom work that I see God call me to. Whatever it is, you structure it in there. And here's what you do. You total that up. Get that total. And the next thing you do, very simply, divide that by 4. Good job. All right. So you get your monthly bills and say, we'll just go for fun of it, $1,000. Divide it by 4, which gives you, good job. Okay. That system's doing decent here. Okay. $250. So you divide by 4. And then here's what you do next is every paycheck you get, you set that money aside. It's not your money. You don't get to spend it. You don't get to do anything with it other than when the bill comes in, you use it to pay your bills. That's it. That's where that money goes. It's not accessible to you. So you take your monthly expenses, divide it by 4, and you know if you get paid weekly, every week, if it's $250, the first $250 out of that paycheck goes into a separate bank account or goes into an envelope or whatever, and that's set aside for your bills so you can make sure you pay your bills, and you could include in there your kingdom work as well, that you put it aside. Me personally, my kingdom work is right in there with the rest of my bills, and it sits there, and I never even see it as my money at all. It's just there. It's one of those things that every paycheck, this much goes out and sets here. It's all for bills. Now, after you do that, here's what you do. And this is a side note. How many of you get paid weekly? Okay, if you get paid weekly, this system works out great. Here's the beauty of it. As you know, some week or some months have how many weeks? 5. What you do in this system is anytime you get a 5th paycheck in a month, this is bonus money. You do what you want with it. You can save it. Sorry, or I didn't mean to cause a problem there. So, now, in this system, you take the 5th one and you can put it on the savings. You can go buy yourself something if you want. You can go give it away. You can do whatever because this is extra money because you have it set up on a 48-week system. That 5th one's a bonus. It's a time to go celebrate. You've been faithful doing it this way for a while. Hey, I get to go splurge a little and I can do some other things. That's the beauty of it if you get paid weekly. If you get paid twice a month, you take the $250 and you go every 2 weeks, I put $500 aside. If you get paid monthly, you put $1,000 of your paycheck aside. Whatever, you put it aside. It's not your money. Now, here's the key. When you do this, if you have more expenses than you have income coming in, you got to make changes quick. Okay, it is like a snowball rolling down a mountain. It does not go away. It's not like a magical fairy show up somehow and reconcile that issue for you. You are in trouble and you will keep getting in more and more trouble until you fix it. So if you have more expenses than you have income, either go get another job if you can get one to meet it or cut bills or do what you have to do because it's not a problem that goes away. And as Christians who are supposed to be stewards of God's money, our main goal is to get ourselves in positions when God calls, we can answer. All right, so you need to get a very simple budget in place if you have nothing, start living by it. Know what your expenses are so you can find out how much income you need to bring in. I would even say this, if your expenses are the same as your income, you're in trouble. Because that means that you're implying that you never eat out once, you don't ever get a pop at the side store, you don't do anything. You're literally living completely within the budget and nobody does that. And you will nickel and dime yourself to death where you end up in massive debt. All right? So you want your expenses here and you want your income here. If your expenses are over your income, you need to drop the expenses or increase the income. Very simple. It's not tough stuff. But here's what it said back in Proverbs again, where Proverbs said, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. You need to put some thought into what you're doing with your finances. So now let's go to the church side. Talking about the church finances. If you're here for the first time this Sunday, I apologize. We're talking about money this week, and you just have to deal with it. It's not a topic we deal with too much here, but it is a necessary thing that we need to talk about. Those of you that know me know I hate talking about money. My leadership knows I hate talking about money. I don't like talking about money. I don't prefer it. And the reason is this is because the abuse and the corruption that's in the Church of America. And I hate teaching on topic because I know all that stuff is on me, whether I've done it or not. It's still there and people are hesitant towards it. So what I'm going to do first is this because I feel morally obligated. I need to let you know who I am and establish my integrity with my own finances with you because I'm the one talking about it this morning. And if you didn't know this, my entire life is funded by you. All right, I live completely off of your giving. I work here as a full-time job. This is the only job I have. This is where I work. And my expenses just recently started to get a little bit more than my income or almost at the same. So my wife went back to work and she started working like Friday and Saturdays at Hobby Lobby so we can get the expense side up, okay? We did that, but I want to establish my integrity with you first before I talk to you about church finances because I think it's keenly important. If I'm not faithful with my finances, what right do I have to tell you about them? Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about Scott Zimmerman. Here's a few things you need to know. I started working in the 3rd grade. I actually started to deliver the Detroit news up in Detroit. And my dad got my brother paper route. And so I don't know if my sister ever had one or not, but I was like, dude, if he's working, I get to work and earn money. We don't have money any other way. Let me work. So my dad got it in his name. And in 3rd grade, I got my paper route. And every day, 7 days a week, rain, snow, whatever, not feeling good. Every day I come home from school, I'd ride my bike about 3/4 of a mile up to the paper place, package all of your papers, put them in your little saddle on your bike, ride home, go to the neighborhood, deliver my papers of like 30 a day, deliver my papers after school, and then I come home. I did that every day. Weekends, you had to do it like 7 in the morning, so every Saturday and Sunday at like 7 in the morning before we went to church, we had to get our papers, go out, deliver our papers. Christmas, I still remember Christmas, you'd have to like wake up, be like at 5 a.m., you'd go out, it'd be snowing, it'd be bitter cold, and my dad would drive us up there and we'd get all of our paper out stuff, and we'd go deliver them, and then we'd come home and have Christmas. So I've been working since I was third. I did that until I was in 11th grade, delivering papers because I made good money at it. It's why I wanted to be a postman. I wanted to be like a mailman because I thought it was like the best job. You get to be outside every day. You get to deliver mail, talk to people. I was like, this is a sweet job. I want to be a postman. But third grade, I started working. I bought my first car in the sixth grade. So just so you know, in the sixth grade, I bought my first car for $750 for my brother who was graduating high school at the time, because my brother is a guy, if he had extra money in the pocket, it was like a bomb was going off and he had to get rid of it. Okay, you know those people? Like, if I got extra money, it's got to go. Okay, that was my brother Barry. I was the saver, the guy like kept all my money together and knew exactly what I had. So he came to me when he was graduating high school to his sixth grade brother and said, hey, can I have a loan so I can get a car when I go to college? So I gave him a $750 loan at 7% interest, and I said, sure, let's go. All a true story, just so you know. So I bought my first car in sixth grade, never really got to drive it, but my brother did, and he eventually paid me back, and I got my 7% interest on it, so it was a good business deal for me. Few other things, credit cards. I have never not paid a credit card off at the end of the month in my entire life. Every month, at the end of the month, I have the cash there ready to pay off my credit cards. Why? I don't spend anything that I don't already have in hand. I just use credit cards because if I carry money on me, you guys know this, I will give it all away and I will get myself in trouble and I will fall behind on bills. So I stopped carrying cash. So I just have credit cards and we use that all the time, but I always have that money already set aside to pay that off at the end of every month. Have never paid interest, have never carried one over on a credit card. And the only debt I've ever had in my life is a home mortgage, and I always keep one car rotating. Okay, so I have one car that's always being paid for, while the other car's 5 years after the payment's up, and then we rotate. So you'll always see us every 5 years. We get a different car, and we rotate them around. So the next one that will go will be Autumn's Jeep in about another 4 years, and hopefully my Charger lasts for the next 8.5 years. So I'm hoping that holds out that long and I get that. So my Mustang was a bonus. It lasted for 13 plus years. So that was like bonus time there. I just got to stock away cash that time. So that's on the debt side. For the last 7 years I've been here at Christview, you have paid me $49,000 a year plus health insurance. You want to know what I'm making? I get paid $49,000 a year plus health insurance for the last 7 years I've been here at Christview. And that's what I live off of with my family. And I will say this, very grateful for that. Very grateful for that. It's an honor to work for you and know that I can live full time off of your giving. It's a beautiful thing. And one more, and I tell you this last one, I covered some of this with my mom to go, how's this sound? Because I'm not saying this one to brag in any way. I don't want this to be arrogant in any way. I don't want this to be anything other than I want you to know what I tell you today. I'm not asking you to do something that I don't personally do. And Jennifer Juarez is sitting right there. Raise your hand, Jennifer, who works with our finances. She can attest to this if you need to go talk to her. I have no problem with this. If anyone wants to know how much I give, you can tell them the exact dollar amount. I have no issue with that, all right? Last year, 2013, I gave 15.3% of my income to kingdom work, okay? The reason I'm saying I'm not bragging, there's people in this church that far outgive that, and you know who you are. But for me personally, 15.3% of my income went to kingdom work. 11.4% of that directly went to this church. So when I give for kingdom work, it's not just giving weekly here. I also give on the side to other individuals and stuff, and many of you know who you are, that I will give out of pocket when you have a need and stuff like that, and that totals at 15%. The reason I tell you that is we'll get into some other things, and you'll go, see, that guy doesn't give what he even wants us to give. Yeah, I do. All right? I have integrity in that area of my life, and it can be backed up with our financial person. All right? Thank you, Jennifer. So Jennifer will have no problem telling you if I'm lying. She'll just no problem, okay? Right there. Okay. Let's talk about our church then. 2014, here's the deal. We need to meet our budget as a church. I think it's been over a decade since this church has actually met its budget. Now, there are two things between expenses and budget. Budget is what we sit down and go, this is what we need and would like to have to meet the things that we think God's going to call us to through this year. Expenses are what we actually pay out. So if we don't make our budget, we just cut our expenses like I told you to do, and we figure out different ways to do it. One of the hands, she's going to hate this, Jennifer is one of those things that we can thank over the last year working with this. She has a degree in this area, and she has come in and saved us thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in our budget that we have, just from cutting out fat, from cutting out duplicate things, just by fine combing everything and figuring it out has saved us thousands. So through this last year, even though we didn't meet our budget, I still think we came out, at least 10 plus grand ahead, probably for the year total, for the year ahead, even though we didn't meet our budget because we scrimped and saved and made sure we didn't blow money anywhere. So we were very tight on that this whole year. But we do need to meet our budget as a church. And I think this year is a year we can start attaining this. And let me tell you why. We need to be able to answer the call of God when he calls us. And right now we have a hard time doing that because we're always worried about every single penny and what's happening to it, and if we can spend it here, spend it there, and for this ministry and this ministry. And there's a lot of times that God calls us to things that we have to go, we really can't do that right now. We need to get right financially. So let me talk to you about what our goal is for 2014. If you are a member of this church or you are a regular attender, which a lot of you are, this is for you, all right? Here is our goal. At the second half of 2013, we averaged $4,689 a week here at this church. That's what we gave on a weekly basis as a collective body. You take about 90 families who are members or regular attenders here, that works out to about $52.10 per week per family. That's what that was. Now, some of you are looking at it going, I don't give anywhere near that. That's fine. And some are looking going, I give a lot more than that. That's fine. That's why we're a collective body. We all, God works through all of us to meet the need. All right? That's what the second half of 2013 was. Our budget for 2014 is this, $5,674 a week. Now, our budget last year was very similar. We just didn't meet our budget. We actually gave 46 instead of 56. But our budget for 2014, 5674, divide that by the same 90 families, that's $63.04 per family. All right? Now, you look at that and you go, so what's the difference? The difference is this, $11 per family per week on average. That's what it would take. This is not an overwhelming task, but it does require this, that we are all faithful stewards of the possessions God has given us. Now, let me deal with this $11 per family thing real quick. Some of you are going to look at that and go, there is no chance in the world I can give that. Some of you right now are going to go, man, I give everything I can right now, and I give a lot. What I would say to those people is, I'm not telling you if God doesn't convince you to give more, you need to give more. And I'm telling you there, if you can't give $11, I'm not telling you God's demanding you give $11. You give what God convicts you to give. What we need as a collective average as a church is $11 more per family. And what we have to do as a church is we have to pray about that, and we have to say God will work through us as a collective body to meet that budget. So when God calls, we can answer. Here's another little side thing about giving to God. One of the reasons you need to give to God and the way you give it is this. The scriptures are very clear. The scriptures do not give this 10% thing. These are some of the abuses you've heard before real quick. The 10% tithe isn't the biblical tithe. I like to hit on this from time to time because it's not the correct teaching in the church. The Old Testament tithe, if people are going to preach it, is 23.3%, not 10%. So I have no clue why it gets preached in churches. There's nothing in the Bible about planting your seed, and if you plant your seed, that God's going to give you wealth back that's going to pay off all of your bills and debt, so you need to give so you go broke, and then God sees how faithful you are, and then he's going to give you a lot back. He doesn't tell you that. He actually tells you to be wise in accordance to your income, how much you set aside for church work. And you do it on a weekly basis. Now, let me tell you how that works. That means if we don't have church on a Sunday, does that money get thrown back into yours to go use how you want? No. If you set it aside for God's work, if you miss a week, the next week you come and you give last week's and this week's. You set it aside, it's God's. It's not yours anymore, whether you have church or not, whether you're here or not. If you're going to be a steward of God's money, you have to look at it and go, this is God's, and when I'm here, I give it to God and his kingdom work. That's how it gets used. So what I'm asking you is this. I need you to pray about that. And I need you to pray and go, as a church, we need to meet an average of $11 a family. I will be the first one to pledge and go, I will give more than that, and we will up ours as a family. Beyond that, and we will start this week into our weekly giving here, all right? You need to take some time. You need to think and pray about it with your spouse and whatever and figure that out. If you don't give anything right now, maybe God's going to convict you to give $2 a week. It's fine. Praise God. That's you starting to include God into your life. I'm convinced that God will work through all of us, all right? And he will meet that need. Here's the thing. I have no authority, physically or spiritually, to demand how much you give the kingdom work. I can't come to any of you and say, this is how much you should be giving. God does not give me that power. It is not my job, and I'm not concerned with it. Here's my job, and here's the rest of our eldership's job. Our job is to make sure you're connected to God. That's my job, and the rest of our eldership is to make sure you stay connected to God. That's our job. God's job is to convict you how much you need to be given to kingdom work. That is God's job. And your job and my job, because I'm part of you as well, is to be obedient to what God calls us to give. That's how it works. That's the beauty of the church. It's a well-oiled, laid-out machine by God. The leaders connect you to God. God, because you're connected to him, convicts you how much you should give. And we, out of obedience, give to God. And the reason we have a cheerful heart is why? Because I'm being obedient to what God's called me. So I can have a cheerful heart about what I'm giving. It's not like I'm going, here's this 10%, so I'm just doing 10%. Or, man, I'm just really giving. I don't know what God wants, and he's taking money from me. That's not the way the church was run. It was a run this very well way. Stay connected to God. God convicts. We are obedient. If we do that, and we are stewards of God's money, what we will find is that God will provide the needs through all of us, and we will become a church that thrives. And when God calls, we will answer. And that's where I want to be as a church, and I hope you do too as well. Let's pray.